But the young people don't all seem to share that rosy assessment of where things are. You mentioned protests about food prices in 2023. There were protests again, large protests in 2024 and again this summer in 2025. Those protests in June spread, met with a most violent crackdown. 65 people died in the clashes. Was that mishandled?
There are many aspects of that protest. There are people who genuinely are there to express their opinions, different opinions, but there are also criminal elements, people who come to burn down buildings, destroy properties, steal from all manner of places, supermarkets, and many of those. And the public itself, by the way, the public went up in arms because they said, these are not protests, this is looting. This is criminality. And we have had to balance. The police have had to balance between dealing with violent criminals on one end and also managing protests.
You didn't leave it to the police force, did you? You got directly involved. You told at one point police to shoot protesters in the legs. Surely live fire is not something that should be used in protests. Do you regret those comments?
I don't regret those comments at all, because the law allows the police to use force when other people's lives are in danger.
Surely there are ways of doing that without using live ammunition.
That is according to you. I think the police know what they need to do. And the police, by the way, understand that it is within their purview. That is why when I came into office, I ensured that the police was independent. The police carried out their responsibilities independently.
Well, you say independent. You're telling the police to shoot protesters in the legs. That sounds like you're ordering the police.
No, there is nowhere in the law that allows me to order the police.
The oldest newspaper in Kenya, The Standard, had on its front page "Rogue Ruto," and you stopped live media coverage, or tried to, of these protests. Kenya's known for its freedom of media. It's one of the great beacons of free media in Kenya. People I've spoken to, young Kenyans, say they are worried now about censorship in your country.
I don't think so. I mean, you yourself just said tried, because it never happened. I mean, media is independent in Kenya. They write all manner of stuff. I think what you've just said, rogue, is one of the mildest. They say all manner of things about me. They say all manner of things about other people. I don't agree with what they write. I don't agree with what they say, but they have the right to say it, whichever way they want. They are also free to lie and to churn out falsehood. I mean, it's up to their conscience to write the right thing. But the people of Kenya ultimately will make an assessment of who has exceeded, who has not, who has done the right thing, who has not.
Let's look at some of the grievances of the protesters. This latest protest followed the death of a blogger who was a teacher who died in police custody. Initially the police said he'd hit his head on a cell wall. I mean, it was unacceptable for someone to die in police custody. It was unacceptable to have a cover-up, was it not?
That's correct. And that is why the police who are involved in that particular incident today are behind bars.
But is there a wider issue of police brutality in Kenya?
There is, we have a police force of 110,000. You will not miss elements within the police who are rogue. And as and when we identify the rogue ones, we deal with them. Like in this particular case, when it was discovered that what they told the country was not right, the correct investigations were done, and those who are involved have been brought to book. So we will continue to make sure that the police, of course, majority of the police, know what they are doing.
The other thing the protesters talk about is what human rights groups call enforced disappearances. 2024, it's reported more than 80 people, critics of the government, disappeared. You've got them?
I can tell you, none of those people. I have told them. I have told people who claim that so-and-so has disappeared to step forward and tell the country who are these, when were they abducted, and many of the stories that you hear are people who when you tell them to come out, they don't. They just want to make general statements. And I'm telling you, we are coming from a dangerous background where, forget about people disappearing, where bodies were recovered from all manner of places in the past. Today, there are no incidences of Kenyans that are executed. I committed to the country that I would stop it, and I did.
Protesters are all young. They're the Gen Z. They are the people who were the engine of your campaign. And you've lost a lot of those people who were fighting for you and believed you were the man to deliver change. Can you regain their trust, do you think?
They have since discovered that every commitment I made, including how to empower the young people, from education to creating jobs, to making sure that there is health, to making sure that we have food, I have kept my commitment. And the entire country today, many people will tell you, the debate is no longer whether William Ruto has delivered. That debate is closed.
Mr. President, I accept what you're saying, but it doesn't match the polling of Kenyans. A recent poll said 62% of Kenyans feel the country is heading in the wrong direction.
Those are polls that, they are different polls by different pollsters. You yourself have said that you do not have the backing of any reasonable objective poll on these subjects. I will tell you, in the last election, the polls showed that I was never going to win the election. I won. So there is a world of a difference between what you see and what you get.
Let's look slightly beyond Kenya to the region around Kenya, and perhaps the reason people are worried about the protests in Kenya is because the picture of democracy in East Africa doesn't look particularly good. We have recent elections in Tanzania, your neighbour. The president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, the winner, declared 97% support. That's like North Korea. Is there still democracy in Tanzania?
It's not for me to judge Tanzania. It is...
It seems a bit fishy, 97%, doesn't it?
Well, in a democracy, for example, in Kenya, you can never get 96%.
So it's not a democracy anymore then?
That is you saying. Every country have a way of them doing their stuff. But I think the primary thing is democracy is the best governance system. It's not tidy always. It is not always easy, you know, because there are all manner of moving parts. But I think we must work together to ensure that we protect democracy.
So look at one of your other neighbours, Uganda.
You know? So I think we should stick to democracy, and we must always give ourselves the opportunity to listen to the alternative view, to look at the alternative without injecting violence into the equation.
So look at one of your other neighbours,
Yes.
Uganda. Elections coming up very soon. President Museveni has been there for nearly 4 decades, and there were real questions about whether there were free and fair elections last time. His opponent, Bobby Wine, was under effective house arrest. How worried are you about those elections and whether they're going to be free and fair? Because this affects the climate of the whole region, does it not?
I attended President Museveni's swearing in last election, and I think he got 57% of the vote. He didn't get 90. So I think there is room for us to work on democracy is work in progress. And I think it spans different, different stages. There are countries like Kenya that are way ahead. There are others that are catching up. There are others that are still not yet started. And we see it changing everywhere. We see, for example, in the West, people moving more right, others moving in the left, and everything in between. So there is a dynamic globally that is changing, and society is responding to different characters. Who expected, for example, that we would have the kind of situation we had in the US in the previous election. Nobody expected that Congress would be attacked, that Capitol Hill would be attacked. That looked like far-fetched. Today, that's the world we live in. I mean, there is all manner of issues coming up. And we need to, as leaders, we need to balance, we need to look at it and see how we can.
I want to raise some more of those issues on the African continent. The most deadly war right now on the continent is the war in Sudan. And you know that the Sudanese army claim that your country is supporting the other side, the rapid support forces. I mean, you had a meeting in February with the RSF and some of its allies. They signed a declaration to create a parallel government. The RSF recently took Al-Fasher in Darfur in Western Sudan, and the UN says there were summary executions, there were murders, there were rapes. Are you worried Kenya's going to be seen to be on the wrong side of history here?
Not at all. Kenya is a great democratic country. We are the only place in East and Central Africa where people can come and meet freely from every part of the world. And the meeting that was there in Kenya was a meeting of the civil society, meeting of church groups, meeting of Muslim leaders, meeting of women. And they were having a conversation about their country in Sudan. Such meetings have been held in Tripoli, such meetings have been held in Addis.
But there are also allegations that you're involved in getting arms to the RSF. I mean, the Sudanese army says you're involved with the UAE and you're shipping arms to them.
That is absolutely false. I can tell you for a fact that Kenya, being a democratic country, we're often accused. DRC accused us, or you were in, there were people meeting in Nairobi. There are people meeting in Nairobi. Sometimes I don't even know they are meeting in Nairobi, because we are a free and democratic country. We do not ban people from coming to Nairobi. We just deal with criminals. But people who are chasing civil liberties, people who are looking for space to express themselves, we have close to 1,000 journalists in Nairobi, including Al Jazeera, right? So that's the only place people can find space to speak about their issues. And to Sudan, I hold the position that both RSF and SAF are cut from the same cloth. They are a product of an overthrow of a people's government. And therefore, you cannot say anything different between SAF and RSF. And by the way, my position is that these two generals have no solution for Sudan, because both of them believe in solving a problem using military means, which is not a security problem. This is a governance problem.
Mr. President, is democracy in Kenya safe in your hands?
Absolutely. Democracy in Kenya is not about a person. It's not about the president. It's about the people. The people of Kenya are Democrats. Their DNA is democratic. And therefore, not the president, not anybody can stop Kenya from being a democratic country.